Lovers of whiskey and watchers of YouTube, I am the Malt Activist, and these are my top 5 Japanese whiskeys to try before you die. Now, before I begin this list, I'm going to tell you, unfortunately, there will be no Kurosawas on this list because I have a few conditions, and those conditions are that I must have tried that particular whiskey, right? So, I mean, yeah, I can say you should really try a Kurosawa 50 before you die, but what if it's shit, right? Because I haven't tasted it. So if I haven't tasted it, it's not on the list, which means this is kind of my list. It's a very personal list. There might be other Japanese whiskeys that you might really like and want other people to try before they die, and which is absolutely fine. But this just happens to be my 5 whiskeys that I think you should try before you die. And also, what I've tried to do is I've taken a spread, you know, a nice like spread, and hopefully to cover a gamut of Japanese whiskey. So hopefully this is something that you will benefit from. And the other condition was that I must have these whiskeys on hand, like with me right now. They're literally down there over here. Because only then it's authentic, right? Otherwise I could just be like, hey, try whatever. But no, it should be something that I've tried. It's something that I already have. And in case you're about to die and your last wish is to drink any one of these 5 whiskeys, sure, call me. All right, without further ado, let's begin. The first whiskey that I have in my hand is the legendary Hibiki 17. That's right. Look at this gorgeous decanter of a bottle. Isn't this lovely? My God, I love this bottle. I love everything about it. I love the fact that it has a big fat cork in it, and this, you know, this slightly frayed edge of the label, and this beautiful kanji symbol. I think this means harmony. I'm not 100% sure. It could mean overpriced whiskey also. It could mean stupid tourist for all I know. But I think it means harmony. And this is the Hibiki 17, and it's one of the few whiskeys that were easily available a few years ago in bars. You would just go to a bar and be like, hey, I'll have a Hibiki 17, and nobody would be like, oh my God, you're gonna have a Hibiki. They'd be like, yeah, sure, dude, no problem. Until you know, things went crazy, and now if you go to a bar and you order a Hibiki 17, like the music stops, and suddenly there's like a spotlight on you, and everyone's like, holy shit, he's ordering a Hibiki 17. I remember drinking Hibiki 17 back in the day, man, when it was just another blended whiskey, you know? Who cares? It was just another blended whiskey, and it was like, what? Okay, it's 17 years old, who gives a shit? But now, everyone's like, oh my God. So yeah, so if you haven't tried it, I'm not saying it is the most greatest Japanese blended whiskey ever. No, that's not really what I'm saying. But it's damn good. It's really good. It's one of my favorite blended whiskeys actually. You know, it hits all the right spots. It's it's very well blended. It's masterfully blended. So let me tell you something about it. It's got whiskeys from 3 distilleries, from Yamazaki, from Hakushu, and from Chita. So Yamazaki and Hakushu give it malt whiskeys, single malt whiskeys, and Chita is the grain whiskey, and they all fall under the awesome House of Suntory. That's right. So Suntory owns all these 3 distilleries, and that is how Hibiki is made, blended using whiskeys from these 3 distilleries. Now I know there's this huge controversy about Japanese whiskeys not being really Japanese, if you know what I mean. They were actually all Scottish, but I don't think Hibiki was one of them. No, I think Hibiki is a genuine genuine Japanese whiskey with whiskeys made in Japan and then blended together. I think there was these other, I mean, Nika from the Barrel was, you know, partly Scottish, to be honest. But I don't think the Hibiki 17 was. And if I'm wrong, damn, it'd be really bad. But if I am, do let me know. I don't think so. Anyway, so yes, really nice blended whiskey from House of Suntory. So this blend uses a mixture of different casks. So you have, you have sherry casks and American white oak. But what I think gives it its slight difference is the use of the Mizunara oak, which is Japanese oak. And it says that the blend comes from 5 different casks, of which Mizunara is one. And I think that kind of contributes to a fairly unique flavor profile of this whiskey that you won't find in Scottish blends. And I've got some tasting notes here. So very fruity, so peach, apricot, melon, hint of rose, some lily and lemon, and on the palate lots of toffee, black cherry, vanilla, and that Mizunara Japanese oak really coming through. And yeah, overall very sweet, very fruity, kind of hits the spot. I think it's at a low 40% if I'm not mistaken, 43%. So this is 43%, not 40. We're thankful for the extra 3%, mind you. So a lovely whiskey, one of my go-to drams back in the day. Not anymore, of course, for obvious reasons. But if you haven't tried this, I think you really should. You'll be very pleasantly surprised at how good it is. And I think it's making a resurgence and it's coming back. And there are some stocks that are being sort of, taken out by these distilleries. And I think this blend is coming back. I think you can find it somewhere on different online retail stores, but damn, you'll have to pay an arm and leg for it. That's a fact. But hey, if your budget allows it, why not try it? Or if you have a generous friend who has a bottle open, then sneak one and don't tell him. That's all the advice I can give you. But yes, the Hibiki 17, fantastic blended whiskey from Japan. Staying with the House Suntory, let me show you this lovely Hawkshoe 12. Now, they have an 18 as well, which I really like. The 25 is something I've never had, and I wish I did. But the 12, for me, better than the 18 in terms of the overall flavor profile and the complexity. And there's something about the Hawkshoe that you won't find in any other Japanese distillery. First of all, it's this distillery is like high up in the mountains. And I'll tell you what mountain this is, by the way. I was doing my research, and it's up in a very, very high mountain. Hold on. It's the mountain is called. Yes, I found it. I might butcher the pronunciation, but it's Mount Keiko Mount Keiko Magatake. Yes, Mount Keiko Magatake. That's where the distillery is, and it is deep in the forest, in the mountains, surrounded by 6,000 different varieties of flora and fauna, and I think that microenvironment creates this unbelievable flavor profile that only Hawkshoe has. It has this saltiness and an earthiness that I can't really explain. That's very unique to Hawkshoe, and it's just so amazing. I love this whiskey so much. Where's it gone? I really love this whiskey, and it's also at 43%, which it's okay, it's not bad. But what I love about it is this is primarily matured in bourbon hogsheads, and so it has a different flavor profile than the Yamazaki 12, which is primarily sherry, or has a good sherry influence in it. But this, just the fact that it's being matured high up in the mountains, in between this amazing climate, and it's very, very cold there. So it really takes a long time for Japanese or Hawkshoe whiskeys to mature, because it's very, very cold. High up in the mountains, and I've never been to the distillery. I really want to go, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. But the spirit, and that's what we're talking about, I love it. The 18 is also not bad, but I think for everything said and done, I think the Hakshi 12 really represents, the distillery character, if you like. And I have my tasting notes here. Where'd they go? Yes. Lots of vanilla, butterscotch, chocolate, caramel, but this salty brininess, this autumn leaf earthiness. I think you can only find it in this particular whiskey, and that's why I'm a huge fan of it. Is it still available? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe some online stores you can find it, again at stupid prices, and that's a sad thing. But if you can get your hands on the Hakshi 12, I think you'll be pretty well chuffed to discover these unbelievable tastes. And man, just look at the attention to detail. Look at all of that. This frayed edge on the label. It's not easy to do, man. I'm a production guy, so I know. But so there's a lot of care that goes into crafting these whiskeys, right down to the label outside. So yes, in my opinion, you have to have this whiskey before you die. Seriously. The Hakshi 12. Moving away from Suntory, we will now go to the equally unbelievable powerhouse that is House Nikka. That's right. Nikka is a distillery that was founded by the godfather, the grandfather, the godfather, or the father of Japanese whiskey, Mr. Masataka Taketsuru, who went to Scotland, especially Campbelltown, and I think worked in Springbank, Hazelburn actually, Springbank, and learned his craft there, and then he brought all his knowledge back to Japan, and he started the distillery in, I think in the 1930s or 20s. I'm not 100% sure, but about 100 years ago, and he started Nikka, and it was, wow. And you can see the results, absolutely amazing whiskeys to come out of that distillery. And the one that we have right now in our hands is the one named after him, and as an homage to him is the 17-year-old pure malt called Taketsuru. Yeah, man. So cool. So the Taketsuru 17 pure malt is made using single malts from two distilleries, from Yoichi and from Miyagikyu, and they're both Nikka distilleries. And this particular whiskey has been made using spirit from both of them. I remember drinking a truckload, an absolute truckload of this 17-year-old back in the day. Again, when it was affordable, when it was something that you could just get your hands on. You could go to a bar and order it, and nobody would care. And I miss those days. And this is an absolutely such a smashing dram, I can't tell you. And it comes in at 43%. Is that good? It's contentious, but that's fine. It works well at 43%. And it's not available anymore, man. Because damn, finding 17-year-old whiskeys in those distilleries is very, very hard. So they'd rather put them out as single malts. But there's a non-age statement Taketsuru pure malt that comes out, which in my opinion is not bad, but it does not hold a candle to this 17-year-old, which is absolutely stunning. Lots of toffee, lots of butterscotch, lots of vanilla, rum cake, Christmas cake, and that oak, everything. This Japanese whiskeys have this propensity and this tendency to really leach out those oaky flavors, and that Japanese oak is the one that is so prominent, and that's why I think you should try this Taketsuru 17-year-old pure malt before you die, because it is absolutely fantastic. One of the whiskeys in the Taketsuru pure malt is the Miyagikyu, and they also sell it as a single malt, and I'm lucky enough to have this Miyagikyu 15 in my hands, something which I bought many years ago when you could afford it. Obviously, this comes in at 45% ABV, which I think, again, slightly low in my opinion, but it works. And wow, this is absolutely stunning. Again, the mastery of Masataka Taketsuru is very apparent here in the way that this whiskey has been made. It is just so good, and I've got some tasting notes here. Quite nutty, quite oily, quite spicy, and so very sherry heavy. Overall honey and field flowers. Very rounded on the palate, quite soft with the touch of raisins. But the king in all of this is that oaky tannin that comes from the Japanese Mizunara oak, which again comes into play over here in this particular single malt, Miyagi-Kyo. So wow, so if you haven't tried it, it's probably one of the cheaper ones to get. I don't know. They have a non-age statement. You can try that. I don't think it's as good as this particular age statement at 15 years old. This is a lot more complex, a lot more rounded, and just another smashing dram from an absolutely smashing distillery. And the last but not the least, my absolute favorite of them all is the Yoichi, and this one is the 15-year-old. And believe it or not, the first Japanese whiskey I ever bought in my life was the Yoichi 20-year-old. And I bought it for a mere 150 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. And now you have to sell 2 houses to buy that whiskey. Anyway, which I love that whiskey, and so I went out and I bought a bunch of the 15-year-olds, which luckily I have on my shelf till today. And this whiskey is just perfectly constructed. That oak, that just is this marvelous oak that only the Japanese can do for some reason, is probably the strongest over here, and it's probably its most defining characteristic. And oh man, just again, look at the label. Look at how can you walk past something like this and not buy it? I just don't get it. And oh damn, such a good whiskey. Again, very sherry heavy. I've got some notes here. Quite sweet. This one is a bit peaty and smoky as well, and nutty also. I like the fact that this is very well rounded. It's lovely on the palate, very creamy with hints of fruits and dry fruits actually. But just overall, when you drink something like this, you realize you're like, I'm drinking something that is very unusual, something that I'm not used to. And well, unless you get used to drinking Yoichis all the time. But when you drink it, you realize this is something, this is something special that I've not tried. So for me, this is just an awesome dram. It brings back a lot of memories. I remember waiting days and days for this to hit my local liquor stores so that I could buy it, or maybe I'd go on auction sites and find these little treasures for myself. And I'm glad I got them when I did. And so one of my prized possessions, and definitely, if not for any one of those, this is the one. This is the one to try before you die. That's my promise to you. Wow, love it. Now you're probably wondering, holy shit, hold on. Where are the Yamazakis? Well, they're here, but I'm just going to give them a special mention. The Yamazaki 18 we spoke about. Luckily, I have a bottle open. I take a small sip from time to time. But this, I think, the reason I don't want to put this on the list is because it's just way too expensive right now for what it delivers in terms of flavors. It's a great whiskey, don't get me wrong, but should you pay I don't know, £1,000 for it? No, man. Actually, should you pay £1,000 for any one of these whiskeys that I spoke about? I don't know. I don't think so. But to each their own. But yeah, the Yamazaki 18 is a fantastic dram. I really like it. But is it really worth all that money? I don't know. I have one more. Ichiro's Malt. This is a 15-year-old Ichiro's Malt. I I bought this even without knowing who Ichiro was. And I opened up the bottle and I just kind of started drinking it, only later to realize what an absolute treasure trove this whiskey is, you know, the Ichiro Malt. But I haven't put it on my list because I think it's almost impossible, you know, to get. So it is what it is. So yeah, man, that was it. That was my my whiskeys, my Japanese whiskeys to try before you die. This is my personal opinion, man. You know, I just wanted to share it with you. So if you can get your hands on them, please do let me know how you like them. And I'm glad, man. I'm glad you stuck around for this video. If you aren't a subscriber yet, man, why not just subscribe? You know, it doesn't take anything. It gets me more subscribers, which is cool. So please like this video, drop a comment, you know, do all the good stuff. And wow, so thank you for joining me for this video. I am the Malt Activist. Until next time, peace.